Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain. Day 58 of the current crisis, and some of you have gone into phase 1 today. The rest of us remain in phase 0. So it's going to be interesting to see in the comment section how your life has changed if you've gone into phase 1. Let us know what you have got up to today with some of the new freedoms that you have. A big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video, lots of comments there. A big thanks to all of the people that decided to support the channel through a small donation. You can see your names here. A big thanks to all of the people that bought merchandise, t-shirt, a mug, or another type of merchandise that I have in the merch store. And a big thanks to the patrons who have joined me on Patreon. You can find links in the description below on how you can support the channel, so check those out. Now, as I said before, it's all about phase 1. And let's be honest, there are a few regions in Spain that are not happy about not going into phase 1. Madrid, Valencia, Andalusia in particular. And as we can see here, these three provinces have shown their discomfort with Sanchez, the Prime Minister, for not passing the phase. Now, some people are saying that this is pure politics and this is payback for not supporting the extension to the state of the alarm. We could argue that, but the government has said that it's because these areas didn't meet the criteria in place. So I'll let you guys debate it out in the comment section as to why these areas didn't go into phase 1. But as we can see here, Andalusia has complained of the treatment of favor to the Basque Country and the punishment of its beaches. The Andalusia President Moreno has complained to Sanchez of having done a reputational damage to the Costa del Sol, and he feels that the government has discriminated against Andalusia with respect to other communities. And for some people it is difficult to understand how the Basque Country went through to phase 1, but not all of Andalusia did. And of course we know that the PNV, which is the ruling party in the Basque Country, was one of Sanchez's biggest supporters for the state of alarm extension. So again, are some areas being discriminated against? That's the question. Now, Madrid will ask next week again to change to phase 1 after the government's rejection. The region says it has sufficient assistance capacity to pass the phase, but the government requests that the primary care detection system be more consolidated. So again, we can see that there seems to be a fight between regions and the central government as to when these areas can pass to the different stages. Now, as we saw in the last video, 51% of the population is moving into phase 1 today, Monday the 11th. And as we can see here, half of Spain enters phase 1. What can I do in my province? As we can see here, there's a reopening by appointment of car dealerships. ITV centres are also opening, gardening facilities and plant nurseries. We can also see here an opening of state-owned public gaming concession entities, except those located in shopping malls. So you'll be able to play the lottery again as of today in the phase 1 areas. We can also see here that you won't be able to travel to another province, but you will be able to travel within a province, island or healthcare area that has entered phase 1. And is tourism permitted? According to the Boletín Oficial del Estado, active tourism is permitted, such as nature excursions. So you will be allowed to go on a nature excursion inside your province as of today if you are in phase 1. And also don't forget that groups of up to 10 people are now allowed to meet as long as nobody has symptoms of the disease. So that's another important part of phase 1. Now remember that the de-escalation in Spain is going through different phases, 0, 1, 2, 3. And as we can see here, how long does each phase of de-escalation last? This is how each province of Spain progresses, and we can see here the schedule established at the de-escalation plans. May 4 was phase 0, May 11 phase 1, May 25 phase 2, June 8 phase 3, and June 22 is the arrival of the new normal. So those areas that have moved into phase 1 today, and providing that everything goes according to plan, will go into stage 1, then stage 2, then stage 3, then the new normal on the stipulated dates. Now, the Madrid regional government said on Friday that it's going to give a mask to everybody in the Madrid community, and as we can see here, they're going to give an FFP2 mask on Monday. Pharmacies are in charge of distributing the masks, one per person, upon presentation of the health card or DNI if you belong to a mutual health fund. Now again, this is only for the Madrid area. I suppose that other regions in Spain are going to do something similar, so check local press for that. If you're living in one of the other areas in Spain, most likely they will have a similar plan in place over the next couple of weeks. Now, another piece of news that caught my attention relates to the minimum vital income that the government has been talking about for the last few months. And as we can see here, there is a full draft now available. The government will give up to 1,015 euros a month of minimum vital income to 1 million vulnerable families. And the criteria to collect is that you need to be over 23 years of age, without income and without home ownership. So there we go, the criteria that needs to be met, 23 years of age and over, in order to get this minimum vital income, as they call it, of 1,015 euros a month. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, this crisis is being particularly hard on youth, and we can see here that the future of young people, more unemployment and worse wages. Half of job destruction since the start of the virus corresponds to those under 35. So an enormous amount of jobs have been destroyed, especially among people that didn't have permanent work contracts. And we know that here in Spain, the labour market is particularly hard to break into, and it's not easy to get one of these permanent job contracts. And a lot of people go from temporary contract to temporary contract, and we can see that those jobs have basically been destroyed over the last couple of months. Now, there's also been a lot of talk since the lockdown began about the housing situation here in Spain. Lots of people living in flats, small conditions, especially in the cities here in Spain. And the BBC put out an interesting article titled "Why Flats Dominate Spain's Housing Market." 2/3 of all Spaniards live in flats. What shaped the housing market? And amid lockdown, are people looking at their homes in a new light? Spain has one of the highest percentages of flat residents in Europe, according to Eurostat. Almost 2/3 of the population live in flats, the highest rate for any EU nation apart from Latvia. In Italy, the proportion is around half, and in France, it's just over a third. In the UK, flat dwellers only make up 15% of the population. Some 65% of homes for sale in Spain are flats, according to Fernando Encinad of Spanish property site Idealista, compared to just 25% on UK site Rightmove. And one Madrid resident says that practically the entire supply in Madrid is flats. Spaniards live in flats because there is no supply of houses at reasonable prices. And if the price is reasonable, they are really far away from the centre or from places of work, he says. And it's true, if you go to the centre of Madrid, you'll see that the overwhelming majority of dwellings are flats. Individual houses are extremely scarce and they are very, very expensive. So basically the only thing people can afford to buy in the centre of Madrid is a flat. And this is the same in Barcelona, it's the same in Malaga city as well. If you go to Seville, the majority of the houses are flats. And of course, during lockdown, a lot of people have started to ask the question whether they want to continue living in a flat. A lot of people are now looking to move to a village outside the big cities, maybe to a more rural type accommodation. So an interesting article to read on the BBC about why people live in flats in Spain. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from the last video. The first one here from Nicola. Hi Stuart, do you know if it's okay for two family members to go shopping together? My husband, who's done all our food shopping since lockdown began, says he recently noticed couples in the supermarket. Have the rules changed, or are people just becoming complacent? We live in Córdoba, so move into phase 1 on the 11th. Thanks, keep up the good work, Nicola. Yeah, Nicola, the government relaxed how many people could travel in cars last week. I think up to 9 people were allowed to travel in cars, and if you had a 4-seater car, you were allowed to have 2 people in the front, 2 people in the back, and the 2 people in the back weren't required to be from the same family. So 2 people can travel to the supermarket. As to whether you're allowed to go into the supermarket together, I don't know. The last time I went to the supermarket, the security guard was not letting 2 people in together because of the social distancing rule. And I imagine that that still applies. But I do imagine that people are starting to become a little bit more complacent, not adhering to the rules as strictly. But again, it will depend on the supermarket and the rules that they have in place, and whether they have security guards that are stopping 2 people doing the shopping together. But I'll open this question up to the viewers. Have you been shopping together? What did the security guards say? Were there any restrictions in place? Let us know in the comment section below. Another one here from Gary. He says, I live in Seville, so lucky for us, bars will be open in this province. What happens if I go for a coffee in the morning or a beer in the evening and it's full to the 50% capacity? Will they tell me they can't serve me and to try somewhere else? Something I've seen in Spain on busy terraces in the summer is people loitering around the terrace when all the tables are full. And when they see a group paying for the bill, they move towards the table. You have to be really quick before someone else gets it. I doubt that'll be allowed due to the social distancing restrictions. Yeah, you're right, Gary. It is a common characteristic here in Spain that you're sitting at a terrace, and as soon as the waiter puts the bill down on the table, you normally have a few people around loitering, waiting to get that table. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to change. I think people are going to be lining up, waiting to sit down in these outdoor seating areas at bars and restaurants over the next couple of months, especially when the weather starts to get a little bit better. But most likely there's going to be an organized system in place where you leave your name on a list, and the waiter calls you in order to sit down once the table has been cleaned, disinfected, and all of those things that restaurants are going to have to do from now on. One here from Bob El Silencioso, Silent Bob. From the comments I see, not many expats are living in Madrid, Burgos, Coruña, Bilbao, etc. Spain is more of an Atlantic country than a Mediterranean one, but of course you guys don't know and don't care. Very few of you venture outside cities like Torrevieja, Costa del Sol, or the islands. Well, Bob, I'm going to disagree with you there. I know that there are a lot of people that do go to those areas, especially retired people that are looking for good weather, because let's face it, in the UK, the north of Europe, the weather is not good. So they go to Alicante, they go to Malaga, they look for places that have good weather the majority of the year. However, I know that there are big expat communities or big English-speaking communities in Madrid, for example. I know Barcelona has a big one as well. I know there's lots of people in the north of Spain. They're just not as concentrated. You have to look a little bit harder to find them. But wherever there are English academies, you will find English speakers. Of course, a lot of people are not going to come from the UK and live in a place like Asturias because the weather's just not what they're looking for. I can tell you from the comments that I see on these videos that there's lots of people in Cáceres, there's lots of people in Castilla-La Mancha, there's lots of English speakers all around Spain, but yeah, there are more in the coastal areas. One here from Patrick, he says, "Hi Stuart, would it be possible to mention new cases, daily deaths, etc. so we might be able to better follow what the virus is up to?" Yeah, Patrick, good question. Here is the information you are looking for. We can see here the daily evolution in Spain. We can see the blue line is people that catch it, the yellow is for people that have recovered, and the red shows people that have passed away. And we can see that 2 days ago on the 9th, there were 604 new cases in the whole of Spain. One here from Craig, he says, "Hi from Murcia. So my wife and I can jump in the car and go sit on a bar's terrace with 8 other people, but can't go to the supermarket together. If 8 people come round to my house, do we have to wear PPE and social distance?" Yeah, Craig, that does seem to be the case. You can sit in the car together, but you can't go to the supermarket together, or at least you're not allowed to walk around the supermarket together. But again, as I said before, it depends on the security set up at the local supermarket you go to. The one that I go to doesn't allow that, but I'm sure that there are others around Spain that do. If people come round to your house, I don't think you need to wear PPE. I don't think you need to wear a mask, because you're only allowed to get together with people that don't show symptoms or have the virus. So I don't think you're going to have to wear a mask, but social distancing is being recommended by the powers that be. One here from Max, he says, "Hola Stuart, ¿qué tal? Hope you are good. Any idea what phase we can just go for a drive? I'm a petrol head and I just want to go for a drive with no destination. No destination and no passengers, possibly my son if he's good." Yeah, Max, good question. One for the petrol heads, for the rev heads, as we call them. In phase 1, you can drive anywhere in your province. So for example, if you are living in Cádiz, down there in Andalusia, and you are in phase 1 as of today, you can take your car and drive anywhere around the Cádiz province. You can go into the mountains, you can go from, let's say, Jerez to Santipetri. You could drive up to Jabugo and get yourself a nice piece of Spanish ham. But if you're still in phase 0, you're not allowed to leave your municipality, unfortunately. One here from David, he said, "It's great to be in phase 1 in Lanzarote. My thoughts are with the people stuck on phase 0. I'm sure it's only a matter of time." Yeah, you're right, David. I think it is only a matter of time. We can see that the areas that haven't gone into phase 1 are protesting, and Madrid particularly wants to ask for it again next Monday. So I'm sure that we will be able to go into phase 1 soon, providing that the case numbers don't rise and the health authorities don't decide to put the clamps back on. One here from Soli, they say, "Stuart, you mentioned Giddy the other day. As you know, it's what Spaniards call the British, or at least here in Chanes for the Germans. Anyway, my nickname with my Spanish friends is indeed Giddy, normally followed by Cabron, as like them, I have a wicked sense of humour. It's said in a fond way, so no problems there. The funny thing was that 14 years ago we took a dog in who was also named Giddy. Imagine the confusion when somebody called Giddy. Sadly, she passed last week. She was such a wonderful friend. Yeah, Soli, sorry to hear about your dog. Sorry to see that she passed on last week. Always sad to lose a furry companion. Regarding the word giddy, it is a word that you're going to hear quite a lot. For those people that don't know what giddy means, it is the word that Spanish people use to talk about pale-face foreigners such as myself, people with blue eyes, people with fair hair. It's normally used a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it can be used as an insult, especially in places like Benidorm, where you're going to hear the word giddy cabron quite a lot, or estos guiris gilipollas. You're going to hear that quite a lot in those coastal areas because there are some Spanish people that complain about the amount of foreign people there. And I did a video last year about the word giddy. You can check that out here. So if you want to know my thoughts on it, check that video out. One here from Michael. He says he lives in Estepona and the new Golden Mile stretch of the Malaga province between Marbella and Estepona. Estepona borders Cádiz. Since Cádiz is in phase 1 starting Monday, is there a specific law that states I am free to get in my car alone, drive 10 minutes to Cádiz and start having more freedom? Yeah, Michael, I've got no idea about your particular situation. 10-minute drive into Cádiz. Are you willing to take the risk? Is there going to be a police car on the border of Malaga and Cádiz to stop people from doing just that? To stop people from Malaga going into Cádiz and having a drink, for example, on a terrace? I don't know. We have a similar situation here in Madrid that we have Guadalajara, which is a neighboring city to the Madrid province, which is in phase 1, but Madrid is in phase 0. So it's a similar situation. But again, I don't know. It's up to you if you're willing to take the risk. And finally, one here from Ronald. Hi, Stuart. My solution is let's all have a cup of tea. Keep up the good work. Yeah, Ronald, good comment. Nothing like sitting down, relaxing and having a nice cup of tea and contemplating the current situation. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. You can also send me video comments on Instagram or Twitter. You can see those links here if you want to send me a video comment, and we can include those in the video instead of written comments if you like. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.